You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com.
Sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous.
Yes, it is extremely dangerous. Welcome to the new. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm your host, Randy Perham. Happy Motivated Monday. Yes, we are Monday, February 1st, 2021. So, I hope you all had a great weekend. A lot has been going on, but for the most part, it's been relatively quiet at the same time. We'll figure. But before we get into everything, I want to send my our thoughts and prayers to the family of Marla Harris. She was killed over the weekend in a motorcycle accident. I knew her from years ago, being stationed here at Fort Hood. She was one of the soldiers in my battalion. We didn't work together, but we was in the same unit and everything. So I saw the messaging on that the other day, and I was like, oh wow, young girl, 36 years old. We're getting older, but we're young at the same time. So, like I said, my thoughts and prayers to the family on that and that tragic situation there. But moving right along, though, Trump's legal team has quit. And I'm not throwing conspiracy theories here, folks, so bear with me here. But I find it kind of odd at the same time that the legal team decided to, because of a disagreement, but they decided that they're going to dissolve this relationship with former President Trump because he wanted them to talk about voter fraud versus the constitutionality of the impeachment, which was their argument, is we have a better chance of getting the case thrown out and the impeachment, dismissed if we talk on the constitutionality versus voter fraud, because the two have nothing to do with each other. The voter fraud doesn't have anything to do with why he's being impeached. So I understand their contention on it, but however, at the same token, I think there's some underlying situations there, whereas everybody knows that this impeachment trial is not going to go anywhere. They're scheduled to kick off the trial the week of the 8th, next week sometime. But at the same time, um, 45 senators already did a kind of like a preliminary tabling of the impeachment type of deal vote last week, and it takes 67 of the senators of yeah 67 senators to convict. So they don't the math isn't there. So I think the lawyers are like, this is not going to really go anywhere anyways. So do we really want to waste our time with this? Plus, he's still hung up on talking about nuances. I should say it that way of the election itself. So that's my theory, not conspiracy theory, but that's my theory. But here's what's really happening, folks. Let's think about this. There really isn't a case that the House presented for an impeachment. There's no concrete evidence that President Trump incited anything. Because at the end of the day, let's really look at the applicable laws here. Someone goes out and do something, whether they saw it on television, whether they got riled up by friends, whatever. At the end of the day, they are personally held accountable for their actions. You can't sit there and pin it on somebody else saying that they incited a crowd of folks to do something. Now, we can get into the whole psychology of an individual doing something versus being influenced by a crowd of people to do something. That's something totally different. But at the end of the day, when you really look at what transpired, how it transpired, you can't really put blame on one or even a couple of individuals to say that they incited anything, because right now that's also the conversation about Senator Hawley and out of Missouri and Senator Ted Cruz, is that these folks, Mike Lindell, which I'm gonna talk about in a second, and others, that they incited these things to create the storm in the Capitol. Although we also have evidence that pre-planning was done, staging of equipment, weapons, and whatever else, devices, changing the clothes in the bushes. I covered all this stuff already. So can one really honestly and intellectually argue that somebody incited something when it was going to happen regardless? But I digress. I digress on that. So, but back to like Mike Lindell, My Pillow CEO. If you have not heard what's going on with Mike Lindell, I highly, highly suggest that you get in tune with what's going on. And here's why it's important. You have companies like Bed Bath and Beyond. I want to say now I saw J.C. Penney. I didn't even know they're still around, but okay, they're up in the north. Certain companies have decided to pull his products from the shelves, and he's like, just because I'm an outspoken supporter of the president and everything else, now these companies want to cancel contracts. They're reaching out to my vendors, my suppliers, and everything else, trying to put pressure on them to cancel me and this, that, and the third. Folks, that's a dangerous, dangerous game to get into, because now people like myself say, you know what, that's wrong. He's doing he's doing his, not only his First Amendment right of freedom of speech, but he's supporting a friend and everything else. And I'm sure we all be in that situation, or we will all support our friends in these situations. So the backlash that he's receiving, I find it to be not only unconstitutional in those aspects, if we're talking, government involvement, which there is, but also you're looking at these media companies, social media companies like Twitter. They finally banned them off of their platform and what have you. So I encourage you all to support the company, support him through purchasing some of his products. I placed an order myself this week, so I'm waiting for my pillows to get here so I can have a good night's sleep as well. So, but that's what's going on right now, and all of that. But um, yeah, yeah, yeah. That is what's going. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. No, I'm just joking. Hey, we're going to jump to commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com.
Let's talk about Joe Biden. He seems to be set about to destroy America as fast as he possibly can, Rita.
Well, I tell you, he has had wasted no time signing executive orders. At last count, it was over 40, I think it's around 42 or even more by now. Just an enormous number of executive orders to have signed in less than 2 weeks, more than Trump, Bush, Clinton, Obama, all of them put together. You know, it is just really, I just can't understand why this isn't getting far greater scrutiny and questioning. He's got the Congress, he's got the Senate. Why can't he negotiate with them? Why does he just have to sign executive order after executive order? It's not a dictatorship.
Yeah, well, we hope it's not. Have you seen those armed guards all around the Capitol? Maybe you might be onto something there, Rita. James?
Well, yeah, and we'll be talking about this a bit more in the second hour, but this executive order orgy that Joe Biden has been on is completely counter to what he has been saying before. Back in October, he said, no, I'm not into executive orders. You know, legislation is the way to go. And, of course, everybody criticized Trump whenever he governed by executive order.
He was a dictator.
Everybody said it was perfectly fine when Barack Obama used executive orders to change immigration rules and things like that. But what he is already doing, you know, you've got two Joes. You've got the Joe Biden, which is the, hey, you know, I'm Mr. Unity guy. I'm your nice uncle. I'm the normal guy, the return to normality. And that's how he got
that sounds the moment to play it. We don't have it, but Rita's famous roach is running up his legs clip.
Yeah, well, and you know, and he learned about you know, corn pop and all of that.
Exactly.
But at the same time, you know, he's captured by, and the people who seem to be running the show right now are not normal moderate centrist Democrats, but they seem to be very hard left progressives who seem to be determined to push through a very radical agenda, not just to undo what Trump did, because Trump undid a lot of Obama stuff. That's what always happens, but to actually change the way the entire country is organized forever. One thing which we need to talk about down the road is what they're going to be doing in terms of H.R. 1 and electoral reforms, which could essentially mean that mail-in votes are permanently enshrined as the way presidents are elected, which will have, you know, devastating consequences, many Republicans fear.
Yeah.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com.
Hey, welcome back. So, what I just played for you there, the news clip of Australian news. Remember how we used to always talk about, well, not we, but those used to always talk about how President Trump was the laughing stock of the world stage and this, that, and the third, and how everybody around the world can't stand him. Well, now President Biden is now the laughing stock of the world stage. So I just figured I'd throw that in there, and you can see for yourself what other people around the world are talking about in terms of U.S. foreign affairs, U.S. domestic policies, and everything else. But speaking of domestic policy, negotiations are currently in the works. There's 10 Senate Republicans that are leading the charge in negotiating a smaller stimulus package to the tune of a little bit over 600 billion versus Biden's proposal of 1.9 trillion. So I think that may be a little bit more of a tangible goal if they do achieve the $1 billion package, the 600 billion package versus the 1.9 trillion, because what was encompassing in the 1.9 trillion was essentially sending money to everybody else and their mother but those back at home, and only, shaving off, providing a little less than 2,000 in stimulus checks to the American people, versus this package here will give $1,000 extra to those and mitigate sending money to other other countries. So more to follow on that. We'll see how that goes. I think at the end of the day, if we just go ahead and follow the science, like Democrats like to say, and open the economy back up, the vaccines are being rolled out, I think we'll be okay. I think things will be fine. So that's just my take on that. But, hey, folks, one thing we have to realize and understand is we look at other countries around the world and how they're handling the pandemic. The UK are still going through these stringent lockdown measures, and their cases are blowing out the roof. Why? Because they're in enclaves. They're like compacted in that country, throughout the country there. So are we going to look at, how can I put this? We're going to look at the metrics in terms of the population, the population density versus the landscape, or are we going to look at, oh, there's a virus out there, so we have to do these draconian measures and keep everybody at home and just throw money at the problem? No, we have to just go on about our daily lives, be careful, be cautious around who you're around, and hope for the best. At the end of the day, I mean, there's a lot of people that are getting sick in terms of just your everyday things, and they're still out and about. They may be asymptomatic, they may be knowingly sick, and they're out and about. So this is nothing new. So no matter what kind of measures we put in place, just because it's a new title to it, we're still going to have these problems. Whether you get the vaccine or not, there's people that still getting sick. They got the vaccine. So what is the efficacy of these vaccines really in terms of the stopping the spread? I will argue that there probably is none. And then, oh, by the way, ever since Biden, President Biden with an asterisk, took office, now all of these cities, these governors are now like, oh, we can open back up, and next week we can do this, and we'll allow indoor dining. Well, all of a sudden the change in direction, that's a little strange to me. I mean, was it because it was President Trump and you wanted to keep the economy in a crashed state and put the blame on him, or is it that that the virus isn't really all of that dangerous? It's dangerous, but not dangerous. You get what I'm saying? So there's that. But I digress. I just want folks to understand that when you got people like Governor Andrew Cuomo out of New York, who is padding numbers of the actual deaths, and you got you got people, the governor in Illinois, who openly admitted that the COVID deaths no matter what you died from, it was going to be rolled up as a COVID death. And then you got the CDC saying on their website that only 6% of the deaths from the numbers, the overall numbers, are actually solely just COVID death and not related to comorbidities. You start to take pause there. You start to think about, like, you know what? What's really going on? And oh, by the way, why haven't I seen any statistics on people with the common cold and the seasonal flu? I digress. I'll be right back.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com. You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network.
Have you heard about Thrive? It's a question asked 1,000 times a day. The Thrive 8-Week Experience has become the fastest growing health and wellness movement in North America. Over 10 million people have started the experience, and anywhere from 10 to 50,000 experience orders ship out every day. Why is this 6-letter word, THRIVE, turned into a phenomenon? Because it's simple. 1. Take 2 Thrive Premium Lifestyle Capsules on an empty stomach as soon as your feet hit the floor in the morning. 2. 20 minutes later, drink the Thrive Ultra Micronized Lifestyle Mix. 3. Apply patent-pending DFT Dermafusion technology to clean, dry skin. That's it. You're all done. And now you're set to thrive for the day. Because it's innovative. We all have nutritional gaps. No matter how well we eat or live, we simply can't get the body everything it needs from a nutritional standpoint. That's why Thrive was formulated. To supplement your diet and lifestyle. Once you complete your simple Thrive 3 steps in the morning, you've now introduced 3 different Thrive formulas that synergistically work as one, feeding your body over 100 premium-grade vitamins, minerals, plant extracts, digestive enzymes, probiotics, antioxidants, protein, fiber, and more. The premium-grade nutrition helps fill in your body's nutritional gaps because it flat out works. Check out what just a few Thrivers are saying about their Thrive experience.
I couldn't believe how great that I was feeling from it.
I noticed a huge difference. I didn't even think I needed it.
I'm down 73 pounds. I'm at my high school graduation weight.
I was more patient with my kids, sleeping better, really loving life again. I felt like I was in my 20s, early 20s again.
Because I've tried other products in the past, but it was like remembering to take this in the morning, take this in the afternoon, take this before bed. So the simplicity of those 3 steps felt like I was living my best life.
It really just rocked my world. It was energized, but it was joy.
From then on, it's just changed my life, and every day has been better.
It's like somebody installed new lights. Everything was brighter, clearer.
It's laughing and smiling and being present and not being so exhausted.
Thrive is where it's at.
Now that you've heard about Thrive, the next question is, are you ready to start the experience? Learn more at Lavelle.com and Facebook.com/LavelleBrands. Find out how to get your Thrive Experience products for free by referring 2 friends to do the experience with you. Find out how to not only earn free products, but earn commissions as well for sharing the Thrive Experience with others as a Lavelle brand promoter. The decision to take the Thrive Experience or share the experience with others is all up to you. Just start your Thrive Experience today.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com.
Hey, welcome back. So, during the commercial break there, I had to go to another commercial because a friend of mine texted me something that I thought was funny, so I had to kind of like digest it for a second there. But Washington, D.C. has issued an Amber Alert for a 70-year-old white male who is running around D.C. saying that he is the president. Inside joke. Don't worry about it. Anyways, Marjorie Taylor Green, representative type out of Georgia. She is the sparking firecracker that is throwing flames in the halls of Congress. Now, I'm not gonna get into her personal views or the commentary that she makes and all that stuff, the incendiary remarks. I'm not gonna get into all of that too much, but I will say this: she has the left horribly terrified, and I find it funny because for the last 4 years, we've been seeing nothing but vitriolic hate speech and rhetoric from the left. And for the most part, those on the right have been generally quiet. Yeah, there's been some spat back and forth, but all in all, on the national stage, they've been generally quiet. And here she comes, freshman congressman. Not only did she file an article of impeachment against Joe Biden in her first week of office, but she's been getting into it with some of everybody. And so I take humor in this because when you dish out so much, when you're poking a bear for so long, eventually that bear is gonna wake up from his nap and he's gonna bite your head off, and you're gonna be sitting there like, "Ooh, you're crying wolf," but you brought it on yourself. So now there's calls from the left for the Republicans to admonish her, to discipline her, to take her off her committee assignments, to censor her, and all this stuff. And most of the Republicans are sitting back quiet, like, go get him, go get him. and I think that's what's honestly going. That's what's honestly going on because she doesn't mind it. She doesn't mind being a fighter. And we know all about the squad, and so now we got the force, and maybe she's part of the force. I'm not sure. I haven't really dug too much into it, but the members of the force, these newly elected congresswomen, um, particularly Maria Elvira Salazar out of Florida, Nicole Meliotakis out of New York, and Victoria Sparks out of Indiana. They said when they get elected and they go to Congress, they're going to create a team called the Force to go against the squad. Now, you can say it's high school cliques and whatever else, but okay, the the right didn't start this. This is something that was ginned up by the left, and now that has gained traction, and not only traction but attractiveness to those to liberals, and they're encouraging this kind of nonsense. Now that the right has ginned up a similar group to combat this, now they want to scream foul. Now they want, oh, we need to bring civil discourse back to the politics. Hey, okay, that's fine. I'm all for that. We can bring civil discourse back. But at the same token, don't sit here and cry and scream foul when now you're getting bitch slapped. I'm just saying. Anywho, so speaking of Marjorie Taylor Green, she got into it this week with Representative Cori Bush. And this one, this particular situation, Representative Bush slash staff members had approached or yelled down a hall to Representative Green there about wearing her mask, telling her because she was walking with her cell phone, talking on the phone, whatever, and she had her mask off, and they was like, "Hey, you need to put your mask on," and this and that and the third. So they got into a heated exchange, resulting in Representative Cori Bush, because their offices are right next door to each other, resulting in, and I don't know if you've ever been in the halls of Congress there in the buildings, the office buildings, but the offices are generally pretty spaced out. They're close, but they're not that close to warrant packing up and moving somewhere else. But okay, whatever. Maybe they're in the basement and you got cubicles or something. I don't know. But my point is this. Cori Bush, Representative Bush, decides that she's going to pack up her office and move somewhere else because she feels threatened, or she feels that her staff will be threatened by the presence of this congresswoman. Folks, guess what? Either you're going to be adults about the situation or you're not. And you have members of Congress sitting there calling for her resignation and all this stuff because she's not taking the crap. And same thing with Senator Hawley. Senator Hawley, he's out of Missouri. He's getting his book deals canceled and everything else. He's being attacked and being called on to resign and all this stuff. And he's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing any of that. Y'all people are not going to bully me into silence because you don't like what I have to say, which is within my constitutional right to say it. Now, 2022 can't come fast enough, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that because when the midterm elections come around, I have a very, 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 very funny feeling that the Democrats are going to get their ass handed to them. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm making a prediction just based on what we're seeing right now with all of the executive orders and executive actions that President Biden, with an asterisk, is doing. That is going to have second and third order effects to it. And then now you got congressional members pushing all these radical bills and trying to get these things passed. There was one I was just reading yesterday by what's her name? Oh gosh, out of Texas, Jackson Lee, Representative Jackson. Can't think of her first name, but you know what I'm talking about. She got a bill proposal out there. She introduced to require. Follow me here, ladies and gentlemen. To require gun owners to not only register their guns into this national database, but also their ammunition, go through a licensing requirement to have both. Then, oh, by the way, you go through a psychiatric evaluation to determine whether or not you are mentally fit to have a firearm. And then, oh, by the way, you have to have, if you have a family, everyone in your household has to submit to this same psychiatric evaluation to ensure that they're safe enough to be in a home with firearms. And this is all going to a national database, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Here's why. Oh, and by the way, by the way, this database can be accessible to anyone that wishes to see this information. So you mean to tell me if I am a private citizen and I have a firearm in my home for self-defense, that my neighbor who may not like me can see exactly what I own in terms of firearms, become more outgunned than I am? No, ladies and gentlemen, no. You mean to tell me that you want me to submit myself and my family to this national database to show that we had a psychiatric evaluation done, that one of the members of my household, even myself maybe, may have been deemed a little unstable, so that information get floated out because of nosy people and HIPAA violations and everything else? No. And for anybody who thinks that, Sheila Jackson Lee, that's her name. For anyone who thinks that that is okay, you go ahead and you just willingly just put all your information out there. If you own guns, you put your gun information, say, hey, I own a gun, this is where I live, and this is my medical conditions. Put it online. Go ahead. Lead by example. If you are okay with that, lead by example, see what happens. Or better yet, if you don't own guns, go ahead and say, hey, I have $50,000 in cash in my safe, and here's the combination, because you're going to be required to provide that information. So, come on, folks. We got to stop this madness, because people are getting woo. So, anyways, that is what's going on in your U.S. House of Representatives and United States Senate. We got rogue folks on both sides of the aisle. I'll be fair and impartial here. On both sides of the aisle, doing crazy things, saying crazy stuff. We need to stop the madness. Just like what the hell are we doing here, folks? But I'm gonna pray for you all. I am dead serious about that. I am going to pray for you all because we are in crazy times right now, and every day I have been getting messages, phone calls, emails about the craziness that's going on in the world. A lot of people are feeding me information. I feed them information, and we go back and forth. We have these discussions, and they sometimes go a little left field, a little bit, But all in all, I can understand the sentiment. I understand the angst that we have in society right now because things are crazy. And I don't know if you believe in God and whatnot, but at this point, I don't care. But I think whatever higher power there is, they have essentially turned their back on us. And they're like, hey, you know what? Y'all are left to your own vices at this point. I have tried. And that's what it seems like right now because we are living in a bizarro world right now. And I don't mean to laugh, but I mean to laugh because it is funny as hell. It's like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? But this is what we have devolved ourselves to. We went from trying to create a utopian society to now we are living in a dystopian society where everything's just haywire right now. We're trying to figure it out all over again. Like folks, we've been through this already in history. Pick up a history book and read it. But oh, by the way, most of you have decided to trash the history books to forget the history. That's why we're repeating dumb stuff all over again. I'm like, we already gone through this in once upon a time. But it is what it is. I'm going to digress from my rant because, woo, folks. I'll be right back.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com.
Are you going to apologize like Cory Booker
Apologize
has called
for what?
Cory Booker's called for it.
Cory should apologize. He knows better. There's not a racist bone in my body. I've been involved in civil rights my whole career. The blinders have been taken off. They've all of a sudden seen a hell of a lot clearer. They're seeing, geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
When may I expect dinner, Beulah?
Presently, Mr. Herrick. Presently.
What would the noontime be without the classic Leave It to Beulah? Beulah, who's always in the kitchen,
but never seems to know what's cooking.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
The world is different. There's too much unfinished business for us to just look backwards. We have to look to the future.
I know Joe. We know Joe. But most importantly, Joe knows us.
That's right.
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. Even call centers was rushed overseas in the hundreds of thousands. How many times you get the call? I'd like to talk to you about your credit card. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. They're going to put you all back in chains.
In my opinion, we don't need white people leading the Democratic Party right now. The Democratic Party is diverse, and it should be reflected as so in our leadership.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Why does this happen? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this, Chuck, I'm not going to do this because let me just be really clear. Vice President Biden absolutely has a respect level for all people around him, for voters across this country, young people, older voters, voters of color, black people, Latino voters, indigenous, Asian American, Pacific Islander. So I'm not going to even traffic in any hypothetical conversation about if he is sensitive enough.
In my opinion, we don't need white people leading the Democratic Party right now.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
I think Joe Biden might be suffering from that same white entitlement and privilege and ego, where he's just that old school white male who feels like, hey, man, they need me, I don't need them, or I got them already.
Joe Biden is under fire this evening on comments he made about working alongside segregationist senators in the past.
Biden recalling his early Senate career, bringing up two segregationist senators, Herman Talmadge and James Eastland, who called African Americans an inferior race. I was in a caucus with James O. Eastland, Biden said. He never called me boy, he always called me son. At least there was some civility. We got things done. We didn't agree on much of anything. We got things done.
I think the two-party system, although my Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this, I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro, good for the black in the South. Other than the fact that they still call me boy, I think they've changed their mind a little bit.
And by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community.
It's that old school white male.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
30 seconds or less. What kind of a chance would a northeastern liberal like Joe Biden stand in the South if you were running in Democratic primaries against Southerners like Mark Warner and John Edwards?
Better than anybody else. And you don't know my state. My state was a slave state. My state is a border state. My state is the 8th largest black population in the country. My state is anything from a northeast liberal state.
It's that old school white male.
Choosing Joe to be my vice president was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Not the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
My son is Attorney General a year in Iraq, came back, and that's one of the things that he finds was most in need. When he was over there in Iraq for a year, people would come to him and talk about what was happening to them at home in terms of foreclosures, in terms of bad loans that were these Shylocks who took advantage of these women and men. Back from Mumbai to go meet with President Xi in China. I stopped in Singapore to meet with a guy named Lee Kuan Yew, who most foreign policy experts around the world say is the wisest man in the Orient. There's not a racist bone in my body. But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com.
All right, so that was a pretty good montage or compilation video of all of the racist, probably not all of them, but a majority of the racist commentary that Biden has made since the 70s. And I I implore you all to listen, to pay attention to these things, to what's going on, to decipher, not try to justify, not try to say, oh, it was just out of jest or he was just joking. Folks, after 40, 50 years, you're not joking anymore. That's how you feel. That's what you're brought up on. That's what you truly are ingrained with. So cut the crap. Okay, just recognize what it is for what it is. The dude is racist. But I'm going to put it into another perspective for you real quick. At the time, in the 70s, he was sitting there with the likes of Strom Thurmond, Eastland, these guys that were born in the 1800s. Okay? They were born in the 1800s. Granted, it may have been 1890, may have been 1880, whatever. But their parents were born a little sooner. Okay, and a little sooner was in the era of slavery. So these folks here are like 2 generations at best removed from freely nude slaves. So, oh my God, I left his tears, folks. Left his tears. I can't deal with y'all. So, but y'all know what this is. Yes, I am. I told you all back in, I want to say it was October. I can't wait to have a Biden presidency. I was looking forward to it because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to destroy policy. I'm going to destroy character. I still respect the office. I still acknowledge the fact that he was elected. I'm not going to say duly. That's why I throw an asterisk in there. It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. But it goes back to what I have been also saying, that the powers to be have placed them there for a reason, and we have to deal with those consequences. So whether it's by the work of God because he decided to turn his back on us, I don't know. But I'm gonna have fun with it in any direction it comes because it is what it is. But before I close out, I do want to recognize the fact that it is Black History Month now. Not that it really means anything to people these days, and yeah, I got a few minutes to talk about this. So Morgan Freeman has said, I got a video of this also, but it's really long. It's 16 minutes, but maybe I'll put it in the comments. But anyways, Morgan Freeman was having a conversation with another reporter. I can't recall his name right now, but the conversation went something like this: how do we get away from talking about race? Morgan Freeman replied, stop talking about it. I'm gonna stop calling you a white man, you stop calling me a black man. Just stop talking about it. Recognize the fact that we are different in our ethnicities, and let it be that. If you're curious as to what I am, or if I'm curious as to what you are, we'll have that conversation. But other than that, it doesn't need to be a topic of discussion every single day. So, moving right along in the same conversation, the reporter said, "Hey, so Black History Month, and Morgan Freeman was like, no, I don't need a Black History Month. Why should I be relegated? Why should my history be relegated to 1 month? Why is it that we accept this construct?" This is not me talking now. Why do we accept this construct that the only time throughout the year that we should be celebrating or recognizing the achievements of Black Americans, African Americans, is in February, the shortest day of the month at that? Why is this? Now, I got it. Carnegie Woodson and on fought for that in NAACP back in, it started off with Black History Day, a week, and then turned. I got all that. I got that. But here we are in 2021, ladies and gentlemen, and we're still running around talking about, oh, it's Black History Month. Okay, I can discuss Black history any time of the year, anywhere I choose, if it is fitting for the moment for me to discuss it. So I just implore people to think outside the box a little bit, and let's stop getting excited at the fact that February, the shortest month of the year, is the time to celebrate Black history. We should be able to celebrate Black history anytime that we choose to. And for the most part, most people don't really even do anything to celebrate it. They just don't. They may have a couple of cake cutting ceremonies. They may throw up some pictures on Facebook here and there. But all in all, like, what are you really doing? I in recent years I have not seen like a Black History parade. Maybe there have been, but I haven't seen it. I haven't heard any of it. There may be a litany of Black movies being played on TV, but that's every day. If you're actually looking for it, there is if you have Amazon Fire Stick, there is a actual Black channel where they play nothing but Black movies and everything else. We have YouTube that has nothing but Black music on it. So we have the ability to celebrate Black history anytime we choose to. But for some odd reason, people relegate this time or that time of history to just 1 month to get through it, 28 days. On March 1st, it's Black who? What? Oh, Black history. Okay, yeah. And that's what we do. So I just, folks, today was just my day to rant about different stuff. So I apologize. Not really. But anyways, I'm down to the bottom of the hour. I thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you. I have to head out of here, go pick up the kid from work. So, but you can pick up my book, The New You, Now Equipped with Wisdom, on Amazon and e-Kindle format. You can follow me on Twitter, rperum, if they haven't kicked me off by the time you get to it. I'm on MeWe, Parler, I'm on Gab now. I have not engaged in Gab really, so, but if you find me under R Perham or Randy Perham, whichever way I set that up, I don't remember, to be honest. I will follow you back because I'm sure I'll get the notification that somebody's following me or whatever, and I'll follow you back. Same thing with YouTube, Rumble, BitChute. I have all those channels. This show will be uploaded on those platforms as well. If you want to be a guest on the show or you want to send in advertising, we can work out the details on all of that. You can do so also at rperm@gmail.com or just hit me up. You can also go to TECNTV.com and you can find all of our content there as well. All of the upcoming shows. Matter of fact, at 3 o'clock today, you got Global Impact with Dave McQuill coming up. So you keep it locked right here on TECNTV.com. Also, there's a survey on there that we're asking people to take when they log on to the website there. Please take that survey so we can gauge an understanding as to where and what mechanism of news do you prefer? Do you prefer mainstream, or I should say left stream media, or do you look at the alternative news sources that are up and coming, like OAN, Newsmax, TCN TV, and what have you? So we can aggregate that information and produce that to our sponsors and to other networks and everything else, so we can get more visibility to what the people want. So we ask that you do that as well. Other than that, I hope you all have a fantastic week. God willing, I will see you all on Friday. Take care, be safe, and yeah, talk to you later.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com.